History tells us that the button was almost pressed when the Soviet Union placed nuclear missiles on the island of Cuba, just over 100 miles from Florida. But, according to some, the world actually came far closer to nuclear war in 1967, when a Soviet Gulf-class submarine K-129 left its northern port to cruise the Pacific.
The Soviets called these patrols war patrols. To them, we were at a state of war, and they took this very, very seriously.
Like submarines on both sides, K-129's role was to remain underwater for months, waiting for orders should the Cold War finally escalate. But K-129's mission was never completed as planned.
She was supposed to send a radio message, just a burst message of a second or two, every couple of days. She sent the first one, but never sent another one. As far as the Soviets were concerned, she was never heard from again.
But for Kenneth Sewell, the big question was not whether the Russian sub had exploded, but what was she doing so close to Hawaii? Sewell's theory is that K-129 was not on a so-called war patrol when she sank, but that she was actively engaged in launching one of her missiles against the USA.
You have to realize that this missile was up in a launch position. It was fueled. It was in countdown. I mean, we were literally minutes, maybe seconds away from this bird taken to the air. It would have started World War III. It would have changed the balance of power in the Cold War, ultimately leading to the demise of the United States, Great Britain, Canada, Australia.
His theory is based not just on the location of K-129 when she exploded, or the fact that one missile was in the launch position, but on a discrepancy in her crew list.
The normal crew complement for a Gulf-class submarine is around 83 to 85 people. We found out later, officially they released, that there was 98 people on board. There is no scenario where there would be an extra 12 or 15 people on board for any reason. We suspect that the men who joined the K-129 right before they sailed was a KGB commando team. These were the highly trained, hand-picked for KGB operations. Very ruthless killers.
Sewell's belief is that K-129 was hijacked by KGB chairman Yuri Andropov as part of a mission not sanctioned by his bosses in the Kremlin. Andropov was convinced that World War III was inevitable, and that if it was between China and the USA, then Russia, watching from the sidelines, could emerge victorious.
They tried to start a war between us and China. They did that to weaken the United States, to strengthen the Soviet Union. Get your two enemies to fight, and you pick up the pieces.
Sewell's theory is that the KGB team was trying to trick the US into believing it was under attack from China, not Russia.
That location where the K-129 went down was exactly where a Chinese submarine would have launched to attack Pearl Harbor.
If Kenneth Sewell is right, and K-129 had been hijacked by Soviet hardliners, what saved the world from Armageddon?
I believe that the captain realized that this was not an authorized act by the Soviet government, that it was a rogue element in the KGB, and I believe the captain gave them the wrong code. When you had an attempted launch with the wrong code, it would detonate the warhead, which would cause the missile to explode, which sank the submarine. We owe him a really big debt of gratitude. He's one of these unsung heroes of history that will never really get credit.